If y'all know, y'all know. I don't know if you can see what I have on my face. But I mean, I'm not gonna be tooting my own horn. Today, I'll be baking and telling a true crime story. Let me paint you of the town that this killer granny lived in. It was a quiet town of St. Petersburg, Russia. Her name was Tamara Samsonova. They discovered this in 2015. Yeah. Soft-spoken senior, known to her neighbors as polite and, you know, just like what a grandma should be. Now, this lady looks maybe deceiving and all. And just imagine looking through someone's diary, finding pages of dismemberment and just gory, brutal killings written by the very grandmother who lived literally down the hall. Gentle woman. Behind closed doors. Imagine having a bad day and you just weren't feeling it. Or you just got on her list. Hold on, we're gonna get back to the story, okay? Hold on, we're gonna get there. See, this is what I cut out. Now for the eyes, and then the other one, and I want one to look like it's stitched up. This is what I did. I wonder what drove her to commit these crimes, and how did she manage to go unnoticed for like decades? So buckle in, because today's story is gonna be like, Grandma, what? Mama, get to baking! Tamara was born on April 25th, 1947, and in the city Ozhur, I think is how you say it, Ozhur, which is a government town in central Russia. It wasn't like a super big place back then. 30,000 people were living there at the time that she was living there. I need a little spiritual. Tamara grows up there, but there's really not much that we know about her childhood, but it is Russia, so I'm pretty sure she was riding a unicorn. But that's just my assumption. Tamara, when she graduates high school, she ends up moving 14 hours across the country to attend college in Moscow. In Moscow, Tamara enrolls in Moscow State Linguistic University. She's learning different languages, she's living the city life, but when she graduates college, she moves to Leningrad, which turned into St. Petersburg, so we're just gonna call it St. Petersburg. This time, it's the early 70s. She meets a guy named Alexei. So the two hit it off, and she eventually gets the ring on her hand. They move into a newly built panel house in the, you wanna know how to try saying it? But the panel houses were these like low-cost buildings that popped up in the Soviet Union in the World War II, but they were cheap and easy to build. When the city was growing, they built these buildings quickly. No wonder they're like creepy. Okay, I think we're saving it. This nose job eats. Dude, look at this. She ends up working as a traveling agent. She was putting her degree into good use. So nice, sweet lady, speaks a lot of languages, so people like her. Then she gets a job where she works at a grand hotel in Europe, which was a fancy hotel that had a lot of foreign visitors. And turns out Tamara was really good at this fancy hotel because she was actually working there for 16 years before retiring. So she retired. Like shortly after she retired, Alexei, he just ghosts. Him and Tamara were actually together for 30 years at this point, and then just she told the police that Alexei ran off with another lady, so they were just like, they don't care. After Alexei's gone, Tamara, she decided to rent out her room in her apartment. That way it's like I should move around. But it turns out she was having a hard time to keep people around. It was said that Tamara was actually kind of difficult to live with. Her neighbor actually would later say that they remember hearing a lot of like banging on the radiator, all sorts of like loud noises coming out of her apartment. She also kept details of her life in her diary. She had diaries for years. She would write in her diaries in like Russian, English, and sometimes German, like wherever she expressed her thoughts, you know. And she'll just write down, drink coffee, took my pills, normal things. She also had like a lot of books about black magic and astrology. She loved that shit. A few years go by and it's like 2014. Tamara decides to renovate her apartment, and it was a great timing because she had just been introduced to 79-year-old Valentina. She's almost 80, okay? She's looking for somebody who, like, to move into her place who can help around with chores. Tamara at this point is 68, and Tamara tells Valentina, I'll move in and help you with the housework. It's kind of like, okay, perfect. And Tamara's apartment's getting renovated. She can stay with homegirl. Tamara really loved Valentina's place. Though the feeling was not mutual. Valentina, she asked Tamara, like, can you move out? And Tamara was like, I'm not moving out. Oh girl, that she was tired of her because you weren't keeping up with anything. It was just being a frogger, squatter. Anyways, Valentina was at this point saying, like, come on, let's leave. And old girl was like, nope. And then 2015, they got in a bad fight over unwashed dishes. The reason why Tamara was living there is so she can help. She was just being an inconvenience to Valentina. Instead of moving out, like Valentina asked, she was like, you know what, Valentina, you're the problem. I'm not the problem, you are. So she decides to poison Valentina. Tamara, she later said she panicked because she was scared to live at her home. Valentina, she could live in peace for another like 5 months. Because that's when the renovation would be done. Tamara, she had enough and she just goes to a nearby city and she somehow convinced a pharmacist to sell her a prescription drug called Phenazepam. It's kind of like a Xanax. Make you... So the pharmacist hands over 50 pills. She's like, thank you. So she goes back to Valentina's, and when she's back at the crib, tomorrow she ends up cooking Valentina's favorite meals and Olivier salad, Russian dish. I don't know if I'm saying all this right, but it's made with peas, potato, carrots, pickles, some sort of meat. Mix it all together. A perfect meal for sprinkling in some pastillas. Tamara actually like put all 50 pills into the salad, and then she served it to poor Valentina, giving her her food, and she ends up going to bed, waiting for the pills to do its thing. At around 2 a.m. tomorrow, she wakes up, she goes to the kitchen, and she just found her in the kitchen. Okay, I could have put this up. Hold on. Ugh. Oh yay, I wasn't even recording. I forgot what I said. But basically, the reports get a little wonky, but some say that Valentina was actually still alive when Tamara found her. But either way, it didn't stop Tamara to do what she did next. Dismember Valentina. But then Tamara told police later on that she did this in the kitchen because Valentina was too heavy to carry her in the restroom. It's unclear what Tamara did with the body parts and the organs, but we do know is that she wrapped the rest of the body parts in pieces in a shower curtain, and then she placed them in plastic bags before dumping them in a pond near her casa. There's actually footage, bro. Look. Seven different times she was going back and forth. Now it's about 3 days later, like July 26, 2015, and there's a couple who's out walking their dog, just minding their own business by the pond, and their dog turned out to be very interested in a bag that had come ashore. So the couple, they just like open the bag, only to see a headless and limbless torso. They called the police right away, and police actually, the night of Tamara's murder, they got a phone call from someone who saw Tamara out by the pond, dropping bags into the pond. So police are like, someone's cooking, putting the pieces together. A social worker has stopped by to see Valentina to make sure everything's okay, and Tamara is like, all the pieces are coming together quickly. So the police come out and they just start questioning the whole neighborhood and realize they haven't seen Valentina in days. So police, they collected the bags, right? And then one day after finding the body parts, police had linked the body parts to Valentina. So they ended up hitting back at Valentina's house, and they knock at the door, And guess who answered? Tamara. Duh. So apparently Tamara was very welcoming, saying, come on, come on. Once the police get inside, they're just looking around and they find traces of blood in the kitchen and in the bathroom. And then they realize the shower curtain has been torn off. The investigators, they confronted Tamara and they're like, look, babe, there's blood, there's evidence. Plus nobody has seen Valentina in days. Without hesitation, Tamara was like, okay, you got it. What? She didn't even try to deny it. It's good because they didn't have to like chase her down. But she told the police, I murdered Valentina. So the police, they obviously arrested her. And they're like, awesome, thank you so much for confessing. So when she was arrested in custody, she was like telling the whole police the whole fight was because of dishes, which sounds ridiculous, right? She tells them about how she was buying the drugs in the pharmacy and how she put all 50 pills in her salad. And the police, they're like, okay, let's go ahead and search. And they ended up finding Tamara's diary. Let me tell you, this lady, she told her diary everything, which is great for investigators, not awesome for her. Even though her diary was written in 3 different languages, they obviously could, they could read everything. The investigators, they realized they weren't just reading her diary about songs and poetry. They were handwritten confessions to several other murders. Several. She was very busy. So remember how she had several roommates? Keyword several. According to her diary, she killed. She's like, they're annoying. Including one of her earliest tenants. She wrote in there that she cut him into pieces, put pieces of him into plastic bags, and threw them away in different parts. And then another diary entry was like a 44-year-old named Sergey. And I guess Tamara and him had like some beef, and what's the answer? She decided to kill him and put body parts in bags and then just throw them around the neighborhood as if they're candy. Turns out that in 2003, a headless, armless, and legless man's body was found in the same street that Tamara mentioned in her diary, but it had gone unsolved. But she also wrote in her diary about the tattoo, so everything was connecting. They didn't have to do much work. They just had to read and be like, no, all the answers are here. So after arrest, Sergey's business card was found in her apartment. In her diary, she wrote about how much she loved Valentina, so it didn't work out though. Then there's some things in her diary written, like she had eaten her victim. Apparently she liked cutting out her lungs and eating them, based on her diary. But they were never officially reported, like in the media or whatever. But they weren't officially like reported on, so I don't know. But police had also never released information about possible cannibalism because there is no like physical evidence that she actually did that, because she ate the evidence. But if she was to do that, they don't know. But Tamara told police that her diary entries were real, so she was like, yeah, that was real. It seems like her and her book are like this, so I believe it. So according to her, she'll eat parts of her lungs, legs, and pieces of the head of her victims before disposing everything else. What was she making? Soup? Pies? Was she giving it to other people? Giving out evidence? So on July 29th, 2015, Tamara was taken to the district court in St. Petersburg, and then they actually put her in a cage in the courtroom. Girl, you 8 people. You need to be in the cage. She's still able to talk, so she turns to the media and she's telling them everything like, I knew this day would come. Disgrace. The whole city will know what I did. They told reporters that she was being haunted by a maniac that forced her to kill. Probably hearing voices. I don't know. I'm not sure. There's no clarification. Most of the time in court, she was behaving quite strange, they said. I don't know why. She either had her head in her hands. She'll be like hiding from the camera like this. I think she was more ashamed of being caught and everybody was like gonna know like she's embarrassed. Or there's like other times that she was crying when again, I think she was embarrassed that she was getting caught and then having her name ruined. You know, okay, why'd you do it? But then there's other times that she'll be sitting up proudly, like flirting with the court and the media. And she was like blowing kisses, like fixing her hair and acting all cute. And then there's another time that she was like acting like she didn't know where she was. So I don't know, she's a great actress. I don't know. Of what she told the judge, Tamara said all of the killings were deliberate. Like the last 10 years she was preparing for this day and to quote, close the chapter. She wanted to be known as a serial killer, but which goes against to how she was behaving. So I don't know. So Tamara ended up telling the judge that kept saying, yes, I'm guilty and I deserve this punishment. Good for her. Everybody smiled, clapped her hands. She's now put in jail and now she's awaiting trial. And the police continue investigating their investigation. Even though she confessed to all sorts of murders, it was still kind of hard to take her words on things because she told the police lots of like colorful stories, and many of them are like contradicting each other, so they didn't know what to believe. She also told police that she was an actress and a graduate of a very like well-known Ooh La La, I don't know, Bacanova, I think, I don't know, Academy, Russian Ballet. And then she changed her story that she worked at one of the city's prestigious hotels. So I don't know what's real. The police don't know what's real. So she was talking out her ass. Maybe she was trying to come up with like, I don't know. I'm just an old lady. I don't know what I'm talking about, but like police, they knew what CCTV footage of her dumping body bags into the pond, and at least they had that evidence. And they turned out having footage of Tamara, the saucepan that which people said like had her head in her hands, but people couldn't find it, so I don't know where she put that. Now it's November 2015 and Tamara has been in custody for a few months again, and she's waiting for trial. The court took her to a psychic exam, and then the psychic exam came back saying that Tamara's actually a danger to herself and society. Yo, this pie is looking creepy. I want to show you. Dude. Oh my god. In December of 2015, she moved to a special psychiatric prison until police finished the full investigation. During the investigation, they had talked to her family and neighbors and friends. And according to a lot of them, they said that she was bragging that one day she'll be famous and popular. She never said why or how, but that's what she always told people. And then Tamara's neighbor, who like knew Tamara for like 15 years, said Tamara said that she was very interested in this one serial killer, Andre Chikatilo, aka the Red Ripper. She was like really interested. You know, this guy, he killed and eaten like 52 women. He was very busy. And according to the neighbor, Tamara had a lot of knowledge about this murder, Andre. But the neighbor actually did give out a little information that may have been helpful. They said that Tamara actually asked to borrow a hacksaw years back and she never returned it. Rude, but now that we know that she murdered all these people, cut them up, she was probably using that. But it was also revealed in the investigation that Tamara had been in and out of the mental institution at least 3 times over the past 15 years. I guess the doctors thought like she was like schizo. Remember that Tamara said that she was haunted by the maniac upstairs, so which maybe it was in her head. It doesn't excuse her to be like that, but you know. So the investigators talked to one of Tamara's school friends from back in the day, and the school friend told the police that Tamara had apparently killed her own mother-in-law. I was like, girl, what? Why wouldn't you say anything? Well, Tamara had threatened that girl, saying, if you say anything, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did to her. I'm gonna cut you in pieces. I'm gonna do it. And she was like, yeah, I'm gonna say anything, I guess. This sounds like a good idea. So, while the police was learning all this like stuff, from everybody, Tamara's still in treatment at the special hospital. There, she gets officially diagnosed for schizophrenia, but she can't really understand that she's going to trial. So determined that she is unfit to stand for trial. So the judge orders Tamara to spend the rest of her life in a house. Sorry. Is that wrong that I say house? There, for years to come, she was shown that she was a threat for people around her and herself, and that she required special monitoring. So remember how I mentioned that there's possibly other victims that Tamara had written about in her diary? Well, many investigators think that she killed a lot more people. Some say that she killed like 11, and others say 14. We know some of them are like a handful of pretendants who just disappeared, but it's hard to confirm because the police didn't have solid evidence aside from her diary and her own confession. Without you know what they say, without a body it's hard to prove anything, but her diary did reference both cannibalism and occult. Maybe that's why she had all those like black magic books in her house. Maybe trying to link that, I don't know. But police had also expect that she killed and dismembered her husband. Remember him? The guy in the very beginning, the guy who allegedly ran off with another woman. Turns out that police think that she did that, that she killed him, but they can't confirm anything because they don't know where the bodies are. Or Tamara, she's still alive, but she's still continuing to live out in her days in the prison hospital. How about they just release the diary, like make it into a movie? Tamara Samsonova, she was a killer who killed for, I don't know, she wasn't even getting money out of it, just killing for fun. I don't know how much longer we have until this pie. I'm not gonna lie, but I wanna eat this pie. Fuck! I just burned the freak out of my thumb. Guys, that really hurt. Do you see this dog? Bro. But anyways, that is today's video. Happy Spooktober. You can see this pie in the corner of my eye. What rhymes? I don't know, and I'm scared. I'm not even gonna lie.